Sorry, I got losing my voice here. So I've heard a lot about pledges, principles, party purity, protecting the brand, controlling candidates. But my question is, hasn't been brought up yet. What about the down ballot races? We've got folks that, it's just not a gubernatorial race. We've got folks running in 2018. They should also, I feel, be able to have the option of an independent being able to vote for them. For instance, in the county I live in, there are 18 registered libertarians. However, there are 2,000 registered independents. So if anyone was to run in that particular election, there's only 18 folks. But if you have independents, they have a chance of getting somewhere, as opposed to just being an 18-person party. So what would be your response to that for the down ballot issues?
So, I deal with all the down ballot races here in Oklahoma. I'm in constant contact with all of our down ballot candidates. We almost had a down ballot primary. Clark Whitten versus James Harrison almost happened, but one of them decided to run for state senate instead of state house. In an 18-person county, I don't know how many down ballot primaries you're going to have, so I don't think that's really too relevant in an 18-person county. Because in an 18-person county, I haven't found anyone in your county to run as a libertarian for whatever state house. Tally France Holly, she's the only registered libertarian in all of Beaver County. Having a closed primary versus open primary doesn't matter if she runs for county commissioner, because there's no one else for her to run against.
She's got
what?
At this time.
At this time, yes. So, one of the things that I've advocated here is to keep the primary closed for now. If we grow as a party to the point where we can compete with Democrats and Republicans, I think that's something we can look at. We can look at opening the primary in the future. But as Rex has been talking about, the days of infancy, and as I just said, building blocks, keeping consistency is the first building block. And I think it's very important for us to realize that in these really small down ballot races, if there is a potential primary, we're not going to be looking at a very wide voting swath either way. When Dax Eubank ran against Robert Murphy, we only saw a couple thousand people vote, and the vast majority of that was still libertarian. I don't think this is too much of an issue, and if any down ballot candidate sees that as an issue, I would welcome them to talk to me about it, and I would personally go out there and knock the door of every independent in their district. That's what I do, that's what I'm passionate about, and I think this is the best strategy for us moving forward in all circumstances. I want all of our candidates to succeed immensely. I want all three of our governor's candidates to do very well with their campaigns. I have deep personal respect for all of them, and I think that closing the primaries is just the best way for us to move forward as a party and under the status quo and for the immediate future.
Okay. I'm listening to Rex and listening to Traci. Rex just minutes ago said that this takes time to build. Okay. When are we going to start building? We going to wait 5 more years or 10 more years? Are we going to do it now? I'm saying we cannot start building with closed doors.
Have you gained supporters through this cycle?
Through this cycle?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet I have.
I know I have because I have zero supporters.
I bet I have, but are they going to change parties just to support me? Hell no. So what do we do here?
Spreading the message.
We spread a message with what? What? You spread a message. You just as well be out there buying a billboard to spread your message. We're wanting to win an election to get our rights back here. And we're not going to do it by shutting out everybody that wants to vote, whether or not they're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. This is a fight for our life here and our rights. And I just honestly think you're wasting your time by putting a closed primary.
Anything to add? Traci?
Yeah, jump right back in on that after. So, the Libertarian Party has been an official party for just over a year now. I was registered Republican until last September when I re-registered. And at the time of my re-registration, there were just a couple hundred libertarians in the state of Oklahoma. And in the span of 1 year, we've reached almost 5,000. That is a 500%, 1,000% increase in a year. The Libertarian Party is the fastest growing national party. We are seeing great improvements month to month. I've been watching the registration numbers. In just 1 month, we gained about 300 a couple months ago. I've been doing voter registration drives as well, and I know that this race, this gubernatorial primary, has brought a lot of attention to the Libertarian Party. In my political science classes at OU, people were talking about this race. People talked about Rex versus Chris versus Joe in my campaign management class at OU, which I thought was absolutely astounding. I know a lot of people who are re-registering Libertarian just to vote for Rex or just to vote for Joe. 4 or 5 on each side, actually. And I think this is a great time to be a Libertarian in the state of Oklahoma. We're rapidly growing, and it's going to take time, but we are starting the growing process. We're moving forward, and it's never going to be easy, but it's happening, and that's what matters.
And I'm going to piggyback off what Traci said just to address your question directly. It doesn't matter what party you're with or what campaign you're affiliated with. The top level election always affects the down ballot races. The message that comes from the gubernatorial race is going to filter down and apply to James. It's going to apply to Will. It's going to apply to everyone that's running at the local races. So whatever we say as gubernatorial candidates, people are going to question them and say, hey, do you feel this way also? Do you have anything to add to that? It adds exposure, and it adds a certain amount of gravitas to the message. When people, you know, I'm an average everyday guy. I work in a paint store. I manage a paint store for my brother-in-law. You know, Joe is an average everyday guy. Chris Powell works for the police department. We're dudes. There's not been a public eye. I mean, Joe's got a lot of celebrity, but neither Chris or I do. I was not a public figure before I started this campaign. I was active within my local Libertarian group. I talked to Tina a lot, I talked to Aaron, I talked to Traci. And my time with Americans Elect, we had a total of 7 people that registered for the party while it was a party. And I was one of the first to leave. Yeah, she was one of them. In my time with Our American Initiative, I had no contact with, we had something like 15,000 supporters in the state of Oklahoma. I had 0 contact with any of them because of privacy rules of the national organization. If I was going to direct anything or I had any project that I wanted to happen, I had to send it up to Charlie Froman. And he went down to all of the contacts and all of the supporters in the state. They didn't know who I was. Nobody knew who I was. Most people still don't know who I am. Most people don't care who I am because I'm a Libertarian and I'm not part of the old party structure. And I totally get the idea of reaching out to those 316,000 voters. My entire campaign is not directed toward the Libertarian Party. Every single event that my campaign has organized has been a public event. It's not even been really, some of them haven't even been advertised on any of the Libertarian pages. Some of the Libertarians found out about it through word of mouth or a friend of theirs because they received a targeted ad. When I do my Facebook ads, I'm not targeting Oklahoma with Libertarian tags somewhere in the profile. I'm tagging Oklahomans between 18 and 65 by their gender. My campaign isn't focusing on Libertarians. If I win the primary, great. If I don't win the primary, I hope the person that wins is a better candidate than me. Very well could be. That's not for me to judge. That's for other Libertarians to judge. And that's who I want to make sure makes that decision come the primary day. I'm not looking at this as this gubernatorial cycle, this gubernatorial election, these 3 gubernatorial candidates. I am looking at it as the future, as what are we going to be 20 years from now? Are we going to be the moderate party, or are we going to be the Libertarian Party? And by creating the environment right now where we exercise as much influence over our candidates and our candidates' message, we are helping to ensure that we are still the Libertarian Party 20 years from now as we gain popularity, and people who are less passionate start to come into our fold. If they are in our fold, we can influence them and hopefully make them be Libertarian next year and the year after that.
If I could just a quick reply to go.
Sure.
I understand that. But doesn't that kind of fly in the face of all the people all the time for liberty when we talk so much about controlling message, controlling party?
The Libertarian Party is a private club. The general election is the time for anybody to be able to express their ideas that they want to. You don't have to be registered with the National to register as a Libertarian in the state of Oklahoma, but most of us are. We are part of a private club presenting a message, unified, of liberty. And everybody has the opportunity to participate in that at the time they are supposed to participate in that, and that's in the general election. The primary is a tool that was instituted by the parties in order to get a bellwether of what the general populace is thinking at that point in time. The Democratic Party is not opening their primaries so that they can recruit people. They are opening it so that they can get the independent vote, regardless of what they believe. They are trying to tailor a message to the population. That's what the open primary is for. It's not to be used as an outreach or a tool for attracting people. That's done through the campaigns. That's done through the candidates. What the open primary is supposed to do is allow people to tailor their message to the population, and that's not something that a libertarian should even be interested in.
Okay, I saw a couple things come out of that. One, you said something about Todd Lamb having so many millions in his deal. He's not doing so well on polls right now. Okay? Not according to the Tulsa World polls. But anyway, that's beside here or there. There are more real people out there, and there are more broke people out there than there are rich people buying politicians at the Capitol right now. And that's what we need to concentrate on, winning their votes. It's people who are tired of this. People who are sick of this. And real people out there that know how to live on a budget like you and I do. You know, Grant, it doesn't matter how much celebrity status I have. I've been on talk shows all over the world. But I'm a real person, and that's why I have such a large following, is because I live in a little shack. I work 24/7, and I have built everything I have from the ground up on a budget of $1,000. And that's and that's how the state needs to be run, is by real people that know how to live on a real budget. Most of these people were born into politics, or wealthy into politics. They don't give a damn about you or how you live. Okay, it's all about how much more they can gain. And I just think that if we would open up the doors and invite more people into our message, whether they're signed up as libertarians or not, doesn't mean that they won't sign up and listen to the beliefs and listen to the ideas that we have in this election to change their lives. I think you'll see it tenfold of how many people sign up to be libertarians. But right now, politics is old for people. They're bored with it because that lady with the white band around her head doesn't benefit from Donald Trump winning, have you? You're bored with voting because you don't get anywhere. Nothing ever happens for the real person in this country. And it's damn time that we invite people into this. And I think closing your doors, she's making a hell of a mistake.
Yeah. Why not? Everybody else. I might just get my 2 cents. No, listen. I think the language that Rex used a while ago illustrates the conflict within the Libertarian Party right now. We're a private club. We're controlling it. We have a top-down control of the message, right? And this is something that the Libertarian Party is going to have to decide. Are we a private club that controls things, or are we a political party? You cannot be both. The rules of the game do not allow you to be both. You're one or the other. It makes no never mind to me which one the party chooses. I mean, it actually relieves a lot of stress. I don't have to worry about winning elections, candidates winning elections, because I'm just here as part of a private club that has a message that we want to spread to whoever is willing to listen. But at some point, the party has to choose. You cannot be both, and I think that's the divide that you're seeing in this discussion. Is at least from my perspective, I'm talking about a political party that acts like a political party. I think others are not necessarily wanting to go in that direction. And whichever way the leadership of what is called the Libertarian Party chooses, that's the way we'll go, right? But you can't be both a private club and a political party. I mean, that's just the reality of things.
Also, can I follow up on that real quick? You said, you kind of alluded to the fact that, if we have a closed primary, that we're not going to win elections. Have you heard of the Republican Party?
Yeah, how many people were registered in the Republican Party in Oklahoma?
But that's the whole
They
point,
don't need,
James.
they don't need closed primaries to win. They have closed primaries because they don't need anybody else.
How
Okay,
many
we're gonna
people
move
were registered
into
in the state of
closing
Oklahoma before
statements now.
1907?
What's that?
How many people were
What has
registered
happened
in
in
the state of
registration?
Oklahoma before
What has
1907?
happened in registration in this state over the last 100 years? You've seen it trend Republican, right? Why did Republicans assume control of the entire state government around 2010? Because this was a trend that occurred. No, they didn't need open primaries to do it, but they were already established. There were only two parties, right? You can't say, well, we can do it, we can do it in a way that is going to be totally counter to how every other thing exists. You either act like a party or you don't. Do I think that opening the primaries is going to decide whether or not one of our candidates wins the gubernatorial race? No, I don't think that, right? Do I think if you want to grow your party, you should open it up to people who might be inclined to listen but aren't necessarily inclined to sign on the dotted line, so to speak, just yet? Yeah, I think that's a beneficial approach, right? And I think that if people are concerned about controlling the message, they're concerned about the wrong, at least from a party standpoint. Now I'm talking from a political party standpoint. If a political party is just concerned about controlling its message, it's concerned about the totally wrong thing. Because I've said this 2 or 3 times now, the fundamental purpose of a political party is to win elections. If that's not your fundamental purpose, quit pretending like you're a political party. I don't have a
Thank you.
problem with that.
Okay, we're running out of time. Maybe one more question from the audience? Maybe 2?
I would just like to hear the panelists speak, because this is just a 2-year decision. This isn't a long-term forever thing. Given that this is the first time we've really had a chance to talk about this, do you have an idea of a strategy that might be closed now, open later, or open now, closed later? Either way, a different kind of strategy rather than all or nothing.
Okay, we're gonna mix the answer to this question and this next question with closing statements.
Okay.
So we've been talking a lot about closed versus open primaries, and basically it seems like your concern here with open primaries are that the message will be sullied or changed from the core libertarian ideals. How likely is that, given that we are in an extremely red state? And how likely is that?
Okay, so 2 good questions and closing statements, and we're actually out of time, but a minute or 2 each.
Okay. Over a 2-year period, I don't think that's a real issue. Again, maybe I'm approaching this from a different perspective. I'm sure I am approaching it from a different perspective. But my issue is always, and I heard this, I've been involved in campaigns a long time, and I hear complaints about different things all the time. And one of those is, well, in this sense, they did this or did that, that I didn't like, right? Campaigns are about one thing. They're about convincing a larger group of people to vote for you than someone else. That's the purpose of a campaign. And it's certainly the purpose of anybody who's running a serious campaign. Now, do people run campaigns for other things? We want to get the message out. Yes. But at the end of the day, reality is a campaign's about winning an election. If you want people to run as good libertarians, go find them and help them run. If you're worried about this message thing, I think you're worried about the wrong thing at the end of the day.
Get both of you in one answer here. I don't think 2 years is gonna change the party, okay? But what I think 2 years would do, if you would open that party up, is to grow that party for the next one. And if it doesn't go the way that you want it to go on an open primary, close it next time. Or leave it open next time. Because you might find out that it tripled this time and triple again next time. I mean, all of us are up here for the long haul. It's the reason why we're even taking this public scrutiny. Okay? we ain't doing this for money because it's costing us. Okay? But I truly believe that an open primary for 2 years would do nothing but make next time even easier to decide. Did it benefit the party or did it hurt the party? You know, but I still believe in my beliefs that invite people in and change their mind and get them to sign a dotted line, you know? You can't force somebody to sign a dotted line, not without knowing what you're up to.
I'll answer both questions real quick and then close. I mentioned earlier that I'm okay with opening the primary later on. I just think that in the early days of the party, when we have nothing to build off of initially, it's important for us to invest in that security. In terms of people taking over the party, there's a lot of libertarians out there who are big into Dan Fisher. He's a evangelical member of a white Christian nationalist cult, and that brings great concern to me. He's running on a campaign of ending the abortion holocaust. And there is a significant swath of the Libertarian Party really interested in his candidacy. I do see it as a potential problem. I don't see it as one that's necessarily going to happen, but I think it's something that can happen. There is people, like I said, like Chris Cantwell. He's on CNN. He's an open Nazi. But people like that exist within the party. There are extremists and nutcases in any party, and that's something we have to deal with. And I think it's worth the time and the security to invest in that. We mentioned 2 years isn't a lot of time for growth, but 2 years is a significant amount of time for growth when you're starting from zero. It's an infinite percentage increase. 2 years, the initial 2 years is going to make all the difference here. Is it going to bring us the most number of libertarians for the state? Absolutely not. But it's the most crucial time in this state party's history right now, as we engage in a libertarian primary for governor, which has never happened before, which already has 3 confirmed candidates, and could potentially go up to 5 candidates. 2 other candidates have expressed interest to me. This is something that we need to do right. It's something that we need to make sure we implement properly. And I think the investment in security is worth the marginal speculative impacts that an open primary could possibly have on our party. Thank you.
Tina, absolutely. My advocacy for a closed primary is to be reevaluated in 2 years' time when we have to make this decision again, when we see the results of what happened. Part of the concern that I have is the fact that we have no data. And in the fact that we have no data, chaos theory applies. There are 80 of them to every one of us. We have no idea what they're going to do. We have a pretty decent idea of what libertarians are going to do. That is why I am advocating for a closed primary for this cycle. In 2 years, we can reevaluate our numbers, we can reevaluate what the state attitude is like, and then we can make a decision at that point in time. The concerns about us not growing, I believe this we do have data on. We did not have a presidential primary for Gary Johnson. We were the 4th highest percentage vote total getting state in the nation. There are Oklahomans that are paying attention to the libertarians. That is the only data we have, and not having a presidential primary did not limit our growth. As a matter of fact, it is probably the single biggest cause for the rapid growth that we've had, is the attention that Gary brought to the state. The growth that we have over the next 2 years is going to be primarily because of the attention brought to the state by Joe, myself, and Chris come the general election, because the general population is not really paying attention right now. I've been at this for 6 months now, and I've been campaigning nonstop to the general public, and I still have people on a daily basis saying, are the libertarians even going to be on the ballot? Yes, we are. We were on the ballot last time, we're going to be on the ballot this time too. So yes, I do think it's definitely worth reevaluating in 2 years, depending on where the attitude of the state is. To answer your question about the likelihood of compromise, I'm going to answer that with 2 different anecdotes. One is the fact that the number 2 vote-getting presidential candidate at our convention 2 years ago is now running for Senate as a Republican. It is highly likely, it has happened in our recent history. There are the political environment among politicians in Oklahoma, in the nation, has become an environment of personal attention seeking, personal vote getting, personal attitude raising, personal following raising, people that are running for office. People who have not the resources of a Donald Trump are going to struggle for ballot access. If they have that desire and they have that ambition, this is a horrible life. I do not recommend campaigning for a high-level position to anybody, because you are under constant scrutiny 24/7 hours a day, and the abuse you take on a daily basis, it makes you question your own humanity. The person that chooses to do this happily, voluntarily, and is going out there for it, is going to be a person to question their motives. I question the character of anyone, including myself, running for a higher office. Because of the personality type of the people that seek higher office for personal gain, they are going to seek the path of least resistance. In an infancy party, like the Libertarian Party of Oklahoma, we would be the first place they would look for ballot access, because it's not easy to get it otherwise. It requires huge petition drive, and they just made it harder. It requires huge amounts of money, and they just made it higher. And they are doing everything they can to ensure that no other political party is able to get back on the ballot, because we've created a headache for them. We have challenged their authority. They don't like that. So when we talk about the likelihood of compromise, we really don't know. We have no way. There is no method to make that determination within the basis of scientific accuracy. But what we can say is it has happened in our recent past, and it is something that we definitely need to pay attention to. And I have nothing further to add for a closing statement. I've said everything I need to. So, check the website.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you, panelists, for participating. This concludes the event.